Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to, at the outset of this regularly scheduled City Council meeting, we call it officially to order at 6 p.m. on the 27th of April 2017, and extend our appreciation to all of you present, particularly our distinguished elected council members. So with that, let's proceed with our roll call. We'll invite our city clerk to conduct that for us.
Andy Wilson.
Present.
Jason Daly. Sorry. Joe Shive.
Here.
Mike Parsons.
Here.
Leona Hunter. Sander Hunter.
Sander.
Here. I'm going to get it one of these days. Mayor Smith.
Also
Ken
present,
Smith.
yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Everybody's here.
So we do have a full house, a quorum. So we may proceed with our Pledge of Allegiance, and would invite all to please rise. And Jason, would you do the honors for us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to immediately dive into our mayor's report. I have a goodly number of items, so I'll try to be succinct. We're still anticipating the monthly or the May 20th big meeting with residents of Vader. I understand that flyers are going to be distributed this Saturday by volunteers, which should be interesting. And you'll note a pile on the round table there. Would invite all present to grab one and share it with your neighbors if you'd like. That'll be held at the Fellowship Hall of the Assembly of God Church at 10 o'clock on May 20th. We're hoping for 100 people or more. It'll be something. All right, so I'd also like to report regarding the 4th of July event. We've been in contact with Reggie Smith, who's our certified fireworks blaster officer, and we're grateful to his service in that regard. It's all 10 of his fingers. That is an accomplishment. And I could report to the council that we have been seriously looking for a better and safer location for this coming celebration. It's been held, as you know, north of the post office in years past, and we were looking at McMurphy Park, anticipating that, but we brought an expert in, a certified professional who's done it many years, to assess what options we might have. And the only location that he thought would be adequate and safe enough was the Castle Rock School property, where we used to have our school. And so we approached the superintendent of the Castle Rock School District about that proposal, and he said we can do it. And the goats are going to be gone by the end of May. So I talked to Reggie about it, and Reggie was enthusiastic about it. So it's going to be centrally localized for more residents to enjoy, good parking, and it should be safe. So beyond that, I know that there is no official committee that's overseeing it. The city is supporting it financially, but we're hoping that maybe on, if not before, did you want to have a comment in public?
Yes.
Okay, good. We'll hear more on that.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Okay. Then I'll just, I'm sure you'll elaborate on that. Okay. I wanted to remind everybody that the Civil West Engineering Company is, we're working with them, we're talking to them, encouraging them to get ready to submit their report on date as they indicated, and so far we've got a green light. You should anticipate hearing from them with some officiality on May 11th, our next City Council meeting. So you might want to come with notepad and questions in hand. Okay. I can report that the park board met on last Monday, and we had some audience participation in that. It was productive. They have completed a rough draft of the Parks Board's portion of the city's comprehensive plan. And I'm impressed with it. It's taken 20 pages and they've distilled it down to 4. But we've gotten it into, hopefully we've gotten it to our city planner, Gary Cooper, who'll probably swell it up with verbiage to maybe 20 pages. We'll see. I hope not. Anyway, it's no small feat, and so I'm very proud of the park board for that accomplishment. I want to remind all present that, one with regard to the Civil West, we've discovered that there is a community that has a system that they are researching, the pressurized system, and it happens to be the city of Camas. And we're kicking around the feasibility of taking a tour of their facility. So contact is being made with the Camas city officials, by Vancouver, and we'll see if we can work something up along those lines. So stay tuned with that. I want to remind everybody that the sign-up deadline for your election cycle, whatever your particular council status is May 19th, and we're hoping that there will be some supportive enthusiasm from members of current council to give careful consideration to that.
I thought it was the first week. It's not.
It's May 15th through 19th.
Yes, 4 days. And when you read the instructions, there are several ways you go about it, but Friday the 19th at 5 o'clock is your deadline. So it's always quite fascinating. 4 o'clock. Thank you for clarifying what I was thinking for. I said, no, probably 5. So 4 o'clock. Thank you. I think that pretty much takes care of the mayor's report at the moment. Let's proceed now with council reports. Any members of the council like to take some time, share some thoughts?
I've heard a lot of disappointment over May Day not being here this year. Lots of disappointment. There was a large group actually that's forming together. I think it might turn out to be a really good thing as far as getting people together and getting people behind it. And I believe next year will be bigger and better than the years before. So.
Okay. Good. Okay. Excellent. That would be wonderful. All things considered.
I would really like to hear that we did the front one when we didn't have any money for the fireworks, and we went to your place of business and we got bombarded. You were there, where were you?
Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Good to know that.
Yeah.
And maybe this May 20th thing might, if those people are present, maybe they can get some additional cooperative, collective support from the community. Could be intriguing. Any others with
I wanted to
observations?
talk about the boarded up houses. We kind of touched on them last week.
Yeah, it's
Would
on-
that fall under the
Yeah,
code
it's
enforcement?
item 2.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
Yep. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, well then, let's proceed with our agenda approval for tonight's meeting. I hope that you've gotten the revised copy of this. So, I don't have any additional changes other than that. So what do
I'll
we-
make a motion to approve the city council meeting agenda for 4/27/2017.
Okay, you've heard the motion submitted by Mr. Parsons to approve the agenda as currently constituted.
I second.
It has been seconded by Mr. Wilson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? And that motion is carried. Now the approval of the minutes for our last meeting.
I make a motion, we approve city council meeting on 4/13/2017.
Okay, Mr. Wilson has made a motion to approve those minutes as noted. Do we have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Leona. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion has carried. Voucher approval totals.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers for the 1st of April 2017. Was already approved $25,027.37. And the end of April 2017, $8,121.22 for a total for April 2017 of $33,148.59.
Okay, Mr. Shy has approved the voucher expenditures as noted,
I would second it.
and we do have a second noted by Mr. Wilson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Special reports. I know we don't have an official report from the park board. I actually informed them that I would give the council a briefing, which I've done in my mayor's report. But there is an official item, note number 5, which has emerged from that latest park board meeting. So I know we don't have a sheriff's report. So Jill, do we have any other reports that we're aware of? Okay. Let's proceed with public comment then.
Mr. Smith is the only one on the list.
Okay.
Reggie Smith.
Excellent. All right.
Hi, I'm Reggie Smith. Okay, as the mayor has already told you, we've got a new location for the 4th of July, which is actually a better location if you ask me, because it's centralized in the middle of the city. We have a lot of room, and we have fencing to separate people from the fireworks, so I'm happy with that. But again, we don't have a committee for the fireworks, and there wasn't going to be one this year, I gather. So my wife and I are going to take it upon ourselves to do the advertising and getting out there to see if we can get a bouncy house, if we can, and the other things that are needed to be done to make people aware that we have 4th of July here. Now, the city is allocating money for the insurance and money for the fireworks.
Yeah.
In that funding, was there any money set aside for advertising? Because I have people who will give me money to help us do our advertising. And I was just wanting to know if the city money had any money allocated into that.
Well, I can speak for the council if you'd like me to, but we've allocated a set amount, and that was just going to be utilized at the discretion of the
4th of July
person.
personnel.
Yeah.
Well, then I might be able to take some of that money, not much, but for the advertising. If the committee has any questions on what we can do for advertising or other things we can do for the 4th of July, bring it up now, and my wife and I and other people I can get maybe organized can help us.
Do we still have the 4th of July signs from last year?
I think we do.
Yard signs?
Probably they were.
And I don't know if they had the date, well, the date. It's the 4th, right?
Yes, it's still the 4th.
We're lucky.
It just happens
Very
that
good
way. But there might be some yard signs and things like
If I can locate those, that would be nice. Anything else?
Well, I can assure you that you're always going to have access to the town crier with our Vader news.
Yeah, I'm going to be putting in the Crown Crier, also the Beer Getter, which is a good one,
Yeah.
local one. And then I'm going to also do Centralia and Longview.
Yeah, but you probably don't need to pay anything to the town crier because we
No,
have that.
but for Centralia, for the Chronicle, and for the Daily News, there is a small fee, nothing major. But it's always nice to put, what I do is I get small flyers, and I go to every local city, Toledo, Manila, Castle Rock, all around here, and I put them on the business windows and get more of an advertising out there. That's a lot of work for me, but I don't mind doing it.
Okay. We do have comment. Now, this is public comment period. You allocated 3 minutes by the
Okay.
council. Normally, we would put this on the agenda and the council could chew on it and ruminate over it at their leisure. But we've already approved the agenda, so
But is there anything
But you
for
want
council
to
to
say
approve?
something, Jim?
so, allocation of funding
The
from the
funds have already
5,000.
been allocated in the
Know how
budget.
to use it if they want to, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Actually, it's gonna be very little that I might need it. I just wanted to know that it was there for me.
And I know there was a question of the vendors.
Yes, and this is the other thing.
But-
I'm gonna be putting it in
But I
for
have to get the
vendors.
council's approval to extend this public comment, given
Your
the.
salt ran out.
Oh, okay.
I ran out of salt. That's good. Would the council like to extend it by a few minutes to address?
Yes.
other issues?
City
Yeah,
city
see, you can
business.
sit-
Okay, now, as for the, we're gonna be putting it in for vendors, and we wanted to get the information from our city clerk on what the vendors are gonna have to do.
Yes.
So when I put it in the newspapers for these vendors, they'll know exactly what they need to be done. So I need that information from our city clerk as soon as possible, if you
I've
could.
got a packet.
Good, and that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be doing the vendors, we're gonna be trying to get, locate a bouncy house, we're gonna put out advertising and try to do the things a normal committee would do, but just a very small committee.
Well, you can add to that committee. Now, we note that there's a member of the audience who would like to make a comment.
I was just curious, excuse me, where will all of this activity be going on? Are you going to do it at the school or downtown?
For the fireworks itself,
Well, I know the
For
fireworks
the
are going to be at
vending
the
and-
school, for the
Yes.
vending. For the vending and the
The
bounce
bouncy
house
oh,
and...
actually, at the bouncy house, it's gonna be deflated and moved out of there prior to the fireworks anyway, like we did the other one. So the bouncy house can be located.
You can't bounce it in the dark anyway.
Yeah, you can't bounce it in the dark anyway, so bouncy house can be located at the school, and, because it's gonna come down, it takes very few minutes to remove a bouncy house.
What about
Quick.
vendors?
The vendors are gonna have to find their locations around
That location up there?
that location. The problem is power.
Yeah, right,
Well,
Do we
that's-
have power in any of those buildings?
yeah.
I think we're
didn't
gonna
ask.
have to talk about this some more,
Yeah.
and about the coordination of it and
Right.
how all that's gonna happen, and
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, we didn't address, get into the weeds with the superintendent.
But the thing is, last year,
He hasn't approved
people
any of
came up
that.
to me over and over again, where is the food, where is the vendors? And it was something that people brought up quite often,
Yeah.
and so we have to deal
It's
with it.
something that the park board, if they jumped on it, could easily do a hot dog stand like they did at some other
There
time.
you go.
Yeah.
And the Lions Club or the,
And fund their
The
park
other
dust
clubs
or
around.
something.
Yeah, very true.
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll work on that.
Okay, great.
Is that something that,
But the council deferred to Judy?
Linda's first. Do you want to do Linda first?
Okay.
Linda's getting old, I forgot what her name.
Okay, Judy. Judy would like to volunteer for next year's 4th of July to be a chairperson for the committee.
I would love that.
Wow.
That'd be great.
This year may be too much for me,
Yeah.
but next year I'd be most happy to
Okay.
chair that
Okay,
for
look
you.
at that.
I would love it.
Okay. All right, quick,
hurry,
here.
hurry.
Hurry, hurry.
Hurry before I
Before she
lose it
forgets.
again. I was just wondering, the way she was kind of talking there, maybe at the school only approved for just fireworks?
Well, I wouldn't presume that yet.
we haven't explored any of this, so
Yes.
we're gonna need to talk about it and figure
Yeah.
out what we need to do, and
Right.
I was gonna say, if you have to do
Because if they have their own generators,
Any kind
there's a
of-
lot of parking.
Yeah, a lot of people have their own.
any kind of, the vendors or any kind of kids' games and stuff like that, like we did that
Right.
one year.
Yeah,
If you have to do it on the A Street, is that what the post office
Main
is?
Street,
Yes.
but yeah.
And then just have fireworks up there, then you got 2 locations for insurance and you can't do that. It's more.
No, I don't think we can make that declarative sentence.
no, not necessarily, because they're two separate insurance policies for the two different activities.
Mhm.
We could shut down D Street on that side.
That's-
506.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think we need to
There's
talk about this some more. We'll bring more back at the next
You
council.
guys can discuss it, and we know basically what's going on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
for
you
that.
very much.
As you've just opened the floodgates and we will.
You ready to go?
Yes, Ms. Woods.
Yeah.
Just a little history that for you younger people that are around here.
Take my own.
I started with fireworks in Vader in 1987, and I kept up with them until Reggie finally took it over, and he's doing a good job. But I tell you, I put a lot of money out of my pocket in all those years, but that's besides the point. Is that it's been going on for 87. And we've had some good fireworks.
We certainly have.
We have fireworks better than any place around.
It's really nice,
Yeah.
there's no fireworks in Toledo or Napa, well, maybe Napa, but.
Fireworks aren't cheap
I like
anymore.
the.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Well, my kids told me my
Okay.
place after 2 years down to 18 minutes for the actual fire.
Yeah, they've canceled Vancouver's altogether.
Did
He
they?
told me that, and they've been doing that at Fort
Okay.
Vancouver for
We
decades.
just have to make sure we wait until dark.
It's so hard to wait.
It's still hard to wait.
It's kind of hard to stop them at 10, till 10 o'clock, you know. When's the fireworks?
Okay, thank you so much, Rich.
Thanks, Reggie.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, and appreciate being able
You betcha. Good night.
talk to you.
Okay. All right, well then that, I guess, concludes the public comment. So now let's dive into our official business. Update on stormwater drainage on 7th Street. It's been on there for 6 straight council meetings, I think. And Mother Nature has
Yeah,
determined.
been raining.
Been raining since.
We've passed the all-time historical record for rain, so we're still, has anything changed?
Nope.
Okay, then it will be on next council's agenda, because if this sunshine continues, then that
It's
may
supposed
be
to be nice
all.
next week, I think, so.
Is it?
I'm
Yeah.
hopeful.
Okay.
Next
I
week
know
is
that's what
supposed
we
to
were
be
waiting
nice.
for.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were
so-
just cleaning the pipes out before we
Right.
go exploring them.
Yeah, I wish. Okay, well then, with that, let's proceed quickly. Council to discuss status of code enforcement. We've prepared a document for you, a chart that should give you a sense of progress that's being made on it. We felt like we should document it as evidence.
Notice it's confidential.
Mhm.
It's,
Normally, this would be a conversation that would likely be held in an executive session, but to negate that need, Jill has removed any form of identification of the property in question. Those in yellow are those that are not responding. And so all the others are responding, and you're noticing a difference.
they're in various stages of compliance.
Mhm.
Some of them are completely complied. The ones with lines through them means that they've complied with it, with whatever that is. Some of them are in complete compliance, some are partially and still working on. You can see what the dates of all the notices went out, if they were appealed. A VCA, for those of you who don't know, it's the voluntary correction agreement where they've asked for more time. And so some of them have asked for that, and so you see the status of that and when, the next notices are going to go out, or when the next inspection is supposed to happen, and all that kind of stuff. So, like the mayor said, some of them are in process. Several of them, when I looked at this, I kept thinking, oh, it's so frustrating, we're not getting anywhere with the code enforcement. When I look at this and thought, okay, there's 14 and only 3 have not done anything. At least 11 of them have done something to respond in some way. And so there's improvement going on. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, and you see it's working. But like the mayor said, those 3 have not responded in any way to our notices and have not
Yeah.
done anything.
So with this in front of you, our objective tonight is to engage in a council conversation to go into our next step, which is to target those 3, which when we met in executive session, you were informed would likely require some legal expenses, with the ultimate hope that it would motivate the land property owner to action. And so we revised the ordinance so that we would put a daily penalty on. We've done that. We've started over again. And we're at the point now where the council needs to decide if it wants to expend the legal costs, which you were told about, to go after. And as the mayor, I deliberate how we can apply what the council has passed in terms of the ordinances. And I've had information provided by our legal counsel, Jennifer Robertson. And my suggestion would be that we select one of those properties in yellow and bravely decide if the council so opts. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I would encourage you to allocate X amount of funding to go after one of them. And there are potential consequences if we're successful. And I can tell you, I would strongly admonish you to read the latest edition of the Municipal Research News. You should have gotten a copy of it. On page 4 is an article, what can be done about what they refer to as zombie properties. And these 3 properties are zombie properties. And it's a fascinating article. We're not alone in this problem. Every city in the state of Washington has it. And I've got a warm and fuzzy feeling as I read this because we are spot on. In fact, I'd say that we are on the cutting edge with all of the legal ordinances we've got because of our attorney. But so the question would be, how are we going to afford the potential cost of going after one? Because if they don't comply, we'll end up owning the property and we could liquidate it and recoup our costs of the legal services, and we will solve the problem of a zombie property. So it's been brought to my attention, our city clerk ably discerned that we have not allocated funds for that, as you probably know. And I prefer not to say how much it would cost, because I think it's a sensitive topic that we probably reserved for an executive session. But it is legal, but to clarify if
I think the amount is okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a sensitive issue. That's just because it would have to be approved in council and public anyways, so, and it would have to have an amount, so I don't know why that would be confidential.
Well, my thinking was because it might give the public a sense of what particular property it is referring to.
Well, the legal cost is the
the
same
legal-
for either one of the
Yeah.
properties.
Well, see, I was thinking that might not be the case, but maybe I'm overthinking.
Well, and the thing is, the thing that makes the cost of the legal fees go up is whether the property owner fights it or not. So it's not really which property, it's not the value of the property or anything that has to do with it. It's whether the property owner decides to fight it and stretch it out and make the litigation last a really long time. Eventually, the city will prevail in some way or another, whether it's prevailing in code enforcement, in paying of the fines, or in the property owner relinquishing the property to the city, or it would be one of those 2 ways. Either they would be assessed the fines because we're fully within the constraints of the law, and our attorney says there's no way we will fail. It's just a matter of how long it takes.
Yeah,
And how long it takes is how much is the cost variable that we don't know. She has a minimum amount that she says that if things go really fast and easy and the property owner jumps right to it and says, oh, okay, I'll take care of things, then it'll be the low end of the scale. If they want to appeal and fight it and go that route, then it'll take longer and it'll end up costing more attorney fees because we take more time in litigation. So.
Okay. Well, then let's compromise and say that I'm pretty confident that it would not be over 10,000, but it would probably not be less than 3,000. And we do have a comment from the public. Do council care to hear any thoughts?
Well, just a thought, if you do A, B, and C, and say you chose B, are you gonna clean it up before you, I mean, if you end up with the property, in legal matters, you're gonna have to clean it up before you pass it on to me or Jason or whoever buys it. So is A, B, or C going to have more cleanup costs? Maybe that would be one way of maybe looking at the first,
Well,
when you pick, thinking that maybe the others, depending on who's the messiest,
well, see,
dump truck
that
wise.
sort of conversation in a public meeting ought to be discussed in an executive session, because you will discover
Those
which one
details,
I
yes.
picked to.
Yeah,
entitle.
just
Right.
off this list, I'd go with the one that has the most violations, but because I don't,
See, I was leaning towards the one that had the most potential value as our starting, but
The rate of return on it.
exactly. So, but that may be the right one.
well,
Yeah.
this is all vague, so
I
Yeah.
just seen a good one the other day over here where the old Quonset hut was.
Yes.
I don't know who the fellow was, but he opened his gate and there's a board with a bunch of cats. Here he was feeding those cats.
Oh, yeah, and the raccoon.
Yeah, there's,
Oh my gosh.
it's a cat house over there. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Gross.
Okay, yes, very true. That's why we're doing this, so we can eliminate.
So should we ask for the mayor and the clerk to find a source of funds then? And
Well, we have actually been looking, and we have an option, even though you haven't allocated funding for it in this year's budget. It's not a very popular approach to it. I mean, you have to use the L word, and it's a four-letter word, and it is loan. You can loan money from another department. In our case, the only one that has funding is the waste treatment fund. There is about $140,000 we have in that accrued in the capital investment fund. But there are strings attached, and you would have to have a payback agreement, contract that's official and approved and legally authorized, and you'd have to pay interest on that funding if in the ultimate outcome you didn't get or weren't able to recoup the costs of that effort. I, for one, I know for this my third term, anytime you mention using funds from another source, it just raises the heckles on everybody's back of your head. And the public is always alarmed when the council opts for that. But in our case, if we're determined to improve the appearance of this community, I'm very confident in our ordinances. And our city attorney, I think, is giving us enough backing to, I would suggest that we consider it. We, the council members, consider it. You don't have to think about it tonight, I think, but we just want to give you food for thought. And we would schedule an executive session at our next council meeting to give you time to think about it. And don't hesitate to come in and talk to Jill or myself to get the specifics of these, so that you know what we're talking about.
Yes.
This is all this is an initial foray, because we've done all of our homework, and we're poised now to join the fight, if we want to fight that fight. And I'm ready to fight. You know, who says you can't kill a zombie? You can kill a zombie. So anyway, you should read this. It's interesting. So that was the presentation of that agenda.
In regards to the code enforcement also, I wanted to ask that maybe we send letters to all of the boarded up houses, the ones that we asked to be boarded up, or the ones that just boarded up themselves, and
Yeah?
inform them of the law or the code that they cannot keep their house boarded for more than a year.
12 months.
You know, boarding it up wasn't the solution. It's a temporary.
Stepping stone,
Yeah. So I would like to see a letter go out to any house we can find that's boarded up, and just at least get the ball rolling on those.
I agree. We
Agreed.
should send them out a public relation letter. Be nice about it
Yep.
instead of being,
Yeah, because a lot of people
Sometimes
don't
they
know
help.
that, a lot of people are just not aware that,
Yeah.
you know, they think, okay, I boarded it up, I'm not gonna have to worry about it now.
Yeah. we've done
But-
indeed, yeah. Okay, well, now we have, we can figure out the calendar where they're at, and we can certainly do that. I don't see a problem with that. Do you?
No.
Okay, so consider it done.
Does that, okay, that doesn't need a motion or anything like that?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Nope, it's informational, and I agree, Mr. Wilson, we can have some sensitivity there, we'll apply some PR, even though I'm a little skeptical of that sort of thing, but we'll see. Okay, with that, let's proceed to a council discussion on the ongoing discussion regarding the vehicle weight limit regulations. Hope we're close to action tonight. I will turn the time over to the council for deliberation.
I have a question. What, if, like say, you know, you used the analogy last time of getting a load of gravel, what would that entail for that person to come into City Hall and to get a permit?
That's what you guys need to determine. That's what she, that's
No, I
what
mean,
they.
how does it stand now? That's
Oh,
what I'm
right
asking.
now.
How does it
Oh.
stand now?
What they have to do is, there's an application, and it's rather extensive as far as, they have to often get engineering review of the roadways that they're planning to use, so that we can determine how much effect the weight of the vehicles would have on the road itself. Some of the information on some of the roads we already have, but some of them we don't, so it just depends on what roads they're planning on using, how much effort they would need to go into. And then it would be reviewed by our engineer, and then they would make a recommendation as to what would need to happen in order to protect or repair any damage that happens to the roadways. So I've only done one full permit, so what I can explain to you what happened in that situation, and that was the logging trucks that went through town. So they had to do an engineering review. We had to make sure that everywhere that they were driving was city property, and if it wasn't, they had to get authorization from the private property owner to drive on their private road to get to where they were going. We had to know all sorts of information, like how many loads they're planning on doing a day, and how many loads total, what the average weights would be. And then once we provided all that information to the engineer, then the engineer came back and said, okay, based on the type of trucks you're talking about using, and this is what the weight load per axle, and this is how much impact it's gonna have on the roadways, and these are the things, he has a way of calculating what the cost of the damage might possibly be for that type, and then he sets basically a bond amount.
No, I understand that for like a large operation like that, but for
It's the same thing.
It's the same process, we only have one process right now. So that's again why I think Councilor Parsons brought this up to begin with, was because it doesn't necessarily fit every situation. Basically what we're looking at is the effect that it has on the roads and the damage. And you'd be surprised that numerous loads like that do have effect, and whether it's numerous loads over a year's time or the same number of loads over a week's time, it doesn't matter, it has the same effect in the long haul. So, you know, the number of people that are receiving heavy gravel loads or large trucks bringing in a single appliance or something like that, I don't think is real common. It's not an everyday occurrence here in Vader. However, I think when council approved this ordinance to begin with, it was to protect us from the more commercial business type, you know, aspects, and until we have these experiences, we don't know what's going to come up in the future. And so these are Jennifer has ideas the city attorney has ideas here about different ways of doing it, either creating an exception for a certain type of trucks or products, or something you can see on page 2 of her note that she made for you guys, we already have some exemptions for like school buses and
Right.
things like that. And, but she says the hard part is that you don't have any way of tracking
Yeah, how
that.
many trips.
Yeah, and she recommends a waiver of some kind. I think she thinks that it would be easier for us to track, but that's not necessarily, I mean, I don't know, do we want to track it? Do we, I mean, that's what council needs to think about.
I don't think that just because we're going to make it legal for people to get gravel, they're going to all of a sudden start a gravel company and have loads
Right.
delivered every day. And I also think that I can't think of a driveway in Vader that's a concrete driveway. Everybody has gravel. And so this affects everyone. And
Which means eventually everyone's gonna have to get a load of gravel.
yep,
So that does add up over time. If you think, I mean, the impact, it does have an impact.
or they just decide, you know what, I don't want to go down to the city and go through what you just
Sure.
explained and
They just order it. They come,
yeah,
they
pick
dump
up the
it.
phone.
drive away.
I have
Yeah,
them
they
on
drive away,
speed
no one
dial.
knows. At least with a waiver or some kind, we would know. And I like how it says in here, there is no fee for the waiver, so there's no, what is it? It's, so an alternative would be a small waiver fee of just to come in and let us know kind of thing, so
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad option either, so.
I personally, you haven't asked, but I personally think a waiver is a good way to go. I think most people, if they become aware of it, will do it. But I think my opinion is that each household, most households, maybe once, or twice a year might get something big. Some won't get any for years. Some may have a lot of activity one year and need several. And so, if somebody's refurbishing a property or something, they might need several loads in 1 year of something heavy. And so, I mean, in my opinion, I would think the waiver makes sense. I would think that, setting an amount saying, typically it's every household gets 2 waivers a year or however you want to do it. And that all it would require is them contacting the city and basically notifying us when the delivery is coming, who's it from, and so we have that.
Estimated weight.
An estimated weight could be important as well, depending on what the item is.
Mr. Wilson wants to inject something.
Myself, with this, after going through this many years ago myself on the council, when we made the ordinance a long time ago, basically, it was only certain streets was where we had the weight limits, because we have so many gravel streets with potholes like this that it's a wonder we aren't sued because of our street constructions we have. We don't have the money and never have had the money. And I would say that let's have certain streets. Let's forget about it until we make a list of certain streets, like A Street. That's a good street yet. It's not the best, but it is. And we've got a couple more streets that have been gravelled in pretty good shape. Let's do it that way. That's my opinion. Then let's set an opinion. When they want to use A Street, they come in the city council and get a permit that day and show what the tonnage is on that we set, and there you are. It's not a lot of hustle and bustle and not a lot of paperwork.
Okay, duly noted. Okay. Now, you were saying? Did you complete your thought?
I mean, like, just this week, our Public Works employee notified me that there are big trucks that were going down to, they're going up A Street, turning west on 6th Street and heading down to the railroad tracks, picking up railroad ties. These are big semis, picking up railroad ties and then pulling out, back out the same direction. Well, those are really heavy trucks once they've got those railroad ties on them. No one's notified us that they're doing that, and they're also, the street is extremely narrow. And so what's happening is that they're making big muddy ruts alongside the street as they turn in and turn out. And so if you go to that corner of 6th and A, you'll see the big ruts that they're making.
But that's
So-
also commercial, not.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's because of it being a long truck and having
Yeah.
narrow streets. It's not a matter of whether the pavement can handle it at that point. It's that the road is so narrow that it's making big, huge ruts in the side. And so, there's lots of things to think about.
Sounds like it's the railroad and they should come fix it.
Well, I've made
It's not
contact.
railroad, I think
I
it's-
reached out to the railroad to talk to them about it, but I'm just saying there's more things to think about than just, the weight of the roadways is something that, you have to think about how much infrastructure we have underneath our pavement. And our pavement, most of our roads are not built to handle those kind of heavy loads, and so you don't think about it, you think, oh, it's pavement, it's strong, but it's not, it's flexible, and it can compact some of these lines that we have underground, and so we have to be cautious. Even in our previous ordinance, A Street was marked as a road that should never be used for the heavy trucks because of concern of the infrastructure underneath of it. I don't know, we haven't ever done a core sample and paid to have our engineers do that to find out what kind of weight capacity the road can handle. Again, that's another cost, but we just don't know. We know that part of 8th Street has been built up to a certain level to withstand the weights of like school buses and stuff. And I have records from that grant when that project was done. So I have records of how that road section was built, but that is the only road section that I have any documentation on. So I know that heavy loads can drive on parts of 8th Street and not do damage. However, when they turn, when they go, they damage the stop lines, and they can, when their wheels turn with a heavy load on it, that pressure in the turning breaks up the pavement over time. And so, just because they're heavy. And so, anyways, I just think it definitely is something that I think we need to address, and I think that what you guys are doing now is probably the best way to go about it. You just need to, determine how you want this worded. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I completely understand this. So if a citizen wants to gravel their driveway and it's going to be over the 30,000 limit, they have to come in and get a permit. And they have to show all the streets they're going to be traveled on. So say like they did it this spring, all the rain that we've had. So the road's stable, but all of a sudden the road's not stable because the ground is so wet. So is that citizen that's trying to improve their home now responsible for any damage to the road? Is that what
The
that?
weather shouldn't have an effect on the weight of load that the road can carry.
Well,
The way the road is built is what they use to determine.
yes, but
What
if you
road
drive
you're on.
out 506 right now, that one corner is sinking again, and they've gone over it multiple times trying to fix it, and it keeps sinking. And I see what you're saying, Leona.
Yeah.
Hey, that road is sinking, and all of a sudden we drive our gravel truck over it, get a load, and oh, that's the gravel guy that did that.
Yeah. But the cost, what it costs the individual to get a permit does not change based on the status of the weather.
No, I don't mean.
That's not the question.
That's not the
I
question.
don't mean the weather in particular. I
Okay.
mean, just
I'm
the
not-
weather we've had this year.
Uh-huh.
This winter has been extremely wet. So
Uh-huh.
with that, if there's damage due to the weather on a main road, does that become the citizen's responsibility to cover the cost for repairs for that? If they're trying to improve,
I wouldn't think so. I would think that the engineers are able to tell because they inspect the road before the load comes in and then they inspect after. And then they're able to tell what is any damage due to trucks. A single load isn't gonna make any, significant foreseeable damage. It's repetition. When you see repetition, that's when you start to see
Okay.
patterns and wear and so that's why I think one of the reasons why council is wanting to do this is because individuals need to be able to access and use the roads that are there.
And the way it
Yeah.
sounds right now is we're going to extremes to try to make Vader look more appealing, and yet we're putting the citizens through all of this when they try to make their own property look
Right.
more appealing.
That was
So
exactly-
That's why I heard.
That's
Yeah.
exactly why why it
Yeah.
was brought up to begin with, is it wasn't, our ordinance was prohibiting some of that, and so
When you,
trying to figure out a
Mr.
way.
Wilson was trying to get
You're
it.
gonna affect a lot of people when you tell them they can't gravel their driveway because.
That's why we're trying to figure out a way to tell them that they can, because the ordinance is too strict. So that's why we're trying to figure out a way to make it work, so that residents can gravel their driveway, but we can still protect the city from big commercial projects. I mean, I think really that's the idea.
yeah,
We just gotta be careful in how we word it, then Jennifer or the city attorney will be able to do the wording well. She just needs more direction from you guys as to how you want that to look. You want it to be the waiver or an exemption, then if a waiver, then how do you want the waiver to be worded?
Council, care to hear a comment from the public?
Thank you. Please keep in mind when you make your decision that I order my gravel at 7 in the morning. I did not know this the day before. And I'm serious. Because Kelly will take 2 scoops of that load that just got dumped in my front yard and he will go to a job site with it.
well, you're kind of lucky because you live right on 506.
I understand that, but we still gotta go down a little to get to my house. But again, a lot of people, like me, I don't have that luxury.
Yeah, the only reason
to
this-
come in and get a waiver.
The only reason this came up is one, I'm on city council, and two, some people watch every move I make and come to city hall to see if I got permits for this or if I'm doing that or anything like that. So, the 30,000 weight limit came up that way.
I
So,
see.
but a gravel truck alone is 30,000 pounds. So we obviously need something for people to be able to do good things and not be handcuffed.
Penalized, yeah. One thing I would insert, and I'm just kind of observing and noting the conversation, which is somewhat confusing to me in reality, because I know what you're trying to accomplish, and yet it's a work in progress. But I know that if we were to put any form of constraint on the homeowners who work in the logging industry, for example, or they drive long-haul semi-trucks, and they need to park that rig in front of their house, if we put any sort of constraint on them, we'll hear about it. 'Cause, I know I'll hear about it. But you already know that, I think. So, as long as we
Most of those rigs are under the 30,000 pounds when they don't have a trailer.
When they don't
I
have-
thought that they were over.
No, they're right at
They usually
a
drive
dump
over.
truck. A dump truck is 26,000 pounds.
I didn't know.
The one that the gravel delivered to my
I was
house
thinking they were
illegally.
automatically over.
Hey, Mike, when we talked to the engineer on the phone, do you remember what he said the state highway limit? Or-
I got that actually
Oh, you got
from the gravel, and it's 50. The truck is 55,000 pounds loaded, and a trailer can be 50,000 pounds. It's a total of 105,000 pounds truck and trailer. But I don't know of anybody. I haven't seen anybody bring a truck and trailer in. If they're going to get gravel, they're going to
I have
bring.
seen a truck and trailer come in. not with gravel, but delivering something else, delivering
Oh.
an appliance. It was a big, it
A
was
refrigerator?
it wasn't even a refrigerator. It was quite small. I was surprised it was on that kind of a truck, but it
We
was.
got your vacuum here for you.
I know. No, it was something that somebody was improving their house, and yeah, it was an appliance. And yeah, it came in on a big huge truck. I have no idea how full that
And I-
truck was,
And I
but
also don't think that the citizen,
We could be here all night talking about.
Yeah, I'm for the limited waivers.
yeah,
To just try to spur some like
Yes.
finality to this. The limited waivers for household, for residentials, I think is something we need to get into wordage so that, you know, so no one it doesn't come back on you when you do bring in something or.
Yeah.
Right?
and I don't think, I'm not interested in any fees for those waivers, for the citizens either. Make it as simple as possible, just to track what is going on.
Not everything has to cost you something.
sure.
So, like you said, you could bring in a load of gravel to do your part to improve your alleyway or something.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be penalized for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So does that need to come in as a motion?
Yeah, if you can, or maybe to
Well,
modify
we're-
the
I don't
verbiage.
know
we're
that we
still
got
working on
the
verbiage,
right
so
verbiage,
if-
yeah, I mean, this sounds good, but I don't know if this is gonna be our final.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, the only thing on that it looked like there was a whole bunch of, if they're doing this and if they're doing that and if they're doing this,
'Cause
then they
the-
may qualify for a waiver type of thing. And I think that if you're getting a load of gravel, it should be more of a informative, hey, I'm getting a load of gravel,
yeah.
not an application to get a waiver.
Okay, so just a notification,
Yeah.
notifying the city. The idea is that technically, they could get a ticket from law enforcement if they're an overweight vehicle and they don't have a permit. The way that it's written now, they don't have a permit. So,
In
the vehicle. However, I don't know that any of our law enforcement would pull anyone over for that, at this point, unless we've told them we really wanted them to do
If
it.
we told them, they would.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
And I-
within the law to do that. And so the idea would be that the homeowner would come get the waiver and provide it to the trucking company so that they could have it in their cab when they come through the city. That's kind of the idea. But,
And
Maybe something as easy as like a carbon receipt type of thing.
I think that can
I
be-
personally think that that's not really necessary at this point. I think if we end up getting a lot of traffic, more than what we've been getting, then okay.
Yeah,
But
I
at
just
this
don't see
point, I just don't see it really being worth the effort and time to worry about trying to get that waiver to them ahead of time and then them trying to get it to the trunking company wherever they are, so they have it in their cab. And I just know that they're not gonna get pulled over for it.
if
because-
somebody does get pulled over for it, they should be able to come to the city, get a waiver, and present that to the judge, and that would take care of it anyway.
I would think that that would
I
be
mean-
sufficient.
Mhm.
Or they could come
So-
after the fact and say, I got we already notified the city, they already had it on, and take that to the judge or whatever.
Yeah, it was on record.
Said it was on record, so I wasn't out of compliance,
Thank you
I
for
mean, I
doing
would
your
think-
job.
Yeah, yeah, I just don't see that as being necessary at this point.
So we're gonna go
So
towards the waiver thing is
We
what,
make a motion that
Well, you don't have to make a motion, just give me I think you're giving me the direction that I need so that Jennifer can put together correct verbiage. And then once we get the verbiage, then you guys can do a motion on accepting it or not accepting it. But, so what you're telling me, and make sure I understand, is that you want to do the waivers, limited, do we want to do a certain number per year? Or do we want to just leave it kind of open-ended, as long as it's a residential use, it's not a commercial or business related?
well, no one's
type
gonna
thing.
count how many, like it says here, no one's gonna actually sit there.
Well, if they
and
have
pick
to
out
call
3 or
City
whatever.
Hall and tell me so that I keep track of that, and I will have a list, so in theory, that would be,
I don't think we should, well, this is me personally, I don't think we should make a limit because I have a long driveway. Some people have long driveways, some people have short driveways,
Yeah.
but
I had 2 loads come just to my house, and I've got just that
Sure.
short driveway.
Sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I'm good for open-ended, and if
Okay.
we see that it's becoming a problem, then we could.
We can
make
readdress
in
it.
the future.
Readdress it, okay. And have there be no cost involved, and have it just be a reporting type requirement, as not requiring them to have an actual document or something, that's what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Awesome,
Okay.
awesome, I think we could work with that.
Right. Whew. Painful. I'm-
Well, we did
It's almost
it.
like birthday.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I was actually taking measure of satisfaction. I was not being long-winded. I was leaving it to everybody.
sorry.
Excellent. Okay, well, with that action, let's go with item number 4. Council to consider resolution 11-20-17. It should be fairly straightforward action on the part of the council.
I move to approve resolution 11-2017 authorizing the mayor to execute the prosecuting attorney services agreement with Hiller Schnibner, Shadmeyer, and Kelly PS substantially as written.
Okay, you've heard the motion submitted by Mr. Parsons to approve
I would second it.
resolution 11-2017 as noted. Do we have a second?
I second.
By Mr. Wilson. Any other conversation at this moment before it's put to a vote? Okay, hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item number 5. Council to discuss the park board request regarding.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Park Board's request for park dust.
Okay. It was within the likely cost of the mayor's $400 limit, so we didn't really need to bring to the council attention. But the park board, I think, felt that it would be appropriate to do that. They want to show their.
Good, I want to applaud them for finally requesting something,
Exactly. Yeah.
spending their money.
Second, third time.
Okay. We'll decide as the city mayor and consultation with the park board the amount, and we'll keep it reasonable, and it'll be deducted from the park board budget, which they want to do. And it'll be stored safely behind the fence, the gate at the waste treatment plant. We've already got a place for it, in case you wonder. So I've heard a motion submitted by Mr. Daly to approve the acquisition of bark dust as requested by the park board. Do we have a second?
I second.
No, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Okay. Any additional thoughts?
The only additional thing is I talked to Jeff, the garbage man,
Yeah.
and he'll charge me $50 to use his dump trailer
Ah,
so that, and allow me to haul it,
Thank you.
and I can go get it and dump it off.
no kidding.
So it's
$50.
$50.
Why are we traveling all the way to Longview to Kelso to get it? Why aren't we
Because
going?
that's where it's being gifted, per se. The price is a deep discount, and that's where the park board member works.
Oh,
So his boss is granting him, he's asked in behalf of the city, and the guy said, "Yep, you go for it. You get it, we'll give it to you at this reduced cost." And that is much less than I anticipated, because we would have just gone ahead and rented it.
cool.
So, and we'll fill up the trailer. And all that bark will be used to decorate around the parks and the flower beds and so forth and so on. We have a comment from
I just wanted to
Concerns?
comment that South Military, or Military Road, the
Yeah.
bark guy up there, I went and looked and it's $26 a yard.
Okay.
Just throwing that out
Oh,
there
yeah.
because
Which
of your
way?
fuel and everything to go back and forth to Longview.
No,
So,
this is
whatever.
a lot less than that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yep, and we know it's valuable, and it will disappear if we don't put it in a secure location. So that's why it's going behind the gate at the waste treatment plant.
Might consider putting it on top of some dryer felt or
Yeah, I
something.
think
so
they've
that-
got,
Oh, good.
John is on top of that.
Okay.
Okay, excellent action, yes.
I have I don't know how much it actually is, but I have a nice pile of red rock that I would be more than happy to donate if there's any place in the city that would, that could
How
use
big a
something like
pile?
that. Well, big enough that I don't want to shovel it.
Maybe we could send a representative of the park board
Yeah,
over to take
park
a
board.
look at it. See if it's
Yes,
something they could
thank
use.
you. We'll do that, okay. All right, okay, with that, then,
We haven't voted on the motion
oh,
yet.
of course not. Sorry, we did carry the motion, Mr. Daly. Do we have a
Who
second?
seconded it?
It's been seconded by
Okay.
Andy.
All right, yes, I asked for comment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Excellent. Well done, and that will help with our community. Last item, council to consider bids for sewer repairs. Don't know that the council, all of you may be aware that we had a sewer pipe failure on city property on D Street. And we had it scoped and checked, and it's rare to have that happen. But indeed it did, and it is, and it collapsed. And so we've got an estimate on that particular repair, you'll note in the amount of $1,800. And we've gone through all the advertising requisites. And there was a property on C Street which was a problem with the project, the side sewer replacement company, and it is on city property, and it was compromised, and roofs.
Some
and
of it's on
system.
private property still, and
Yeah.
some of it's on city property as
Yeah.
well.
We're not sure if there has been some faulty piping that was installed on that side sewer project or not yet, but they're going to confirm that. If it's bad, and it was bad pipe, then we've got an issue with the company that did the services for us on the side sewer project. And it'd have to be replaced, and it would be $2,100.
Has this gone up to more than just one?
We have one other bidder respond, and their response for just the one project on D Street was $14,000.
Yeah.
Are you sure they didn't just misplace the decimal point?
I'm sure we talked about it extensively.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was most
Yeah,
unnerving. Yeah. And so for us, it was, it seems like it's pretty hefty, and yet in reality, this is the market. It's the same company that did us a great service on the problem we had on the corner house at D and 8th. And they're reputable. I've watched them oversee that project. So I'm prepared to support this, if you wanted the mayor's opinion on it. Now, obviously, we don't like to expend that much, but fortunately, we've got it in our budget, the waste treatment plant, and we anticipate these things every year. So, anyway, that's the
hopefully there won't be
background.
any other breaks, because that'll expend our repair budget for the year, but,
Yeah.
but some of it may be recouped by the other company that
Exactly.
did faulty work, so.
And we have the pretty compelling evidence to indicate that there was faulty work. So, yes.
I had the home here in Vader replumbed, and very, very disappointed with that company. And I had DJs do some work, excellent, absolutely excellent, very, very satisfied with
Thank you
DJs.
for confirming.
And the Centralia home as well, that came right out. My husband fixed it, and made it 10 times worse, and they came right out and fixed it for me.
Yeah, of all the
So-
companies I've worked with, they're impressive.
Yes, I've been very pleased with DJs.
Okay, good. Thank you for that observation. So,
I would move that we approve the DJ's Plumbing for repair of the two side sewer lines, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement substantially as written.
thank you.
I'll
You've
second
heard
that.
the motion submitted by Mr. Daly to approve that as noted. And did I hear?
I'll
a
second that.
Seconded by Mr. Parsons. Any additional thoughts or observations about that motion? Hearing none?
They're on our short roster, aren't they?
Yes.
Or
Or
smaller
Yeah.
roster, yes,
Smaller.
however, these projects are small enough that we're not required to use
Oh.
it, but yes, they
They
are.
are. So, with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Excellent. Motion is carried. We have completed our agenda. I would declare this council meeting closed at 7:09 p.m. Thank you all for your competent participation. The audience as well.